Okay, so this is the Talmud Daf Yomi. We're in Avodah Daf 67. So at the end of 66, it says, the Gemara answers, Abaye could say to you that Rabbi Yehuda also holds that a smell is a substantial matter. Wasn't it stated with regard to that Mishnah that Rabbi Bar Chana says, that Reish Lakish says, in the case of a hot loaf of bread in an open barrel, everyone agrees that it is forbidden, as the bread certainly absorbed of the smell of the wine. Furthermore, in the case of a cool loaf of bread in a stoppered barrel, everyone agrees that it is permitted. So they disagree only with regard to the case of a hot loaf of bread in a stoppered barrel, or in the case of a cool loaf of bread in an open barrel. In this case of mine, that is the case of the bunghole, is also comparable to the case of a hot loaf of bread in an open barrel, in which everyone agrees that the bread is forbidden. So it is stated in the Mishnah, this is the principle: anything that benefits from a forbidden item imparting flavor to it, and the forbidden item contributes a positive taste to it, it is forbidden, and anything that does not benefit from a forbidden item imparting flavor to it is permitted. So that is forbidden vinegar that fell onto split beans, as flavor imparted by the vinegar does not enhance the taste of the beans. So Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says, this is the halacha. And Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says, the sages taught this only with regard to a case where the vinegar fell into hot split beans, imparting flavor to their detriment. But if the vinegar fell into cold split beans, the vinegar enhances the flavor. And if one subsequently heated them, it becomes like a dish that some added ingredient first enhanced its flavor and ultimately detracted from it, and it is rendered forbidden, as the initial flavor that was imparted was beneficial. And similarly, when Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, he reported that Rabbi Bar Chana says that Rabbi Yochanan says, the sages taught this only with regard to the case where the vinegar fell into hot split beans. But if the vinegar fell into cold split beans and one subsequently heated the mixture, it becomes like a dish that some added ingredient first enhanced its flavor and ultimately detracted from it, and it is rendered forbidden. And similarly, when Rav Dimi came, he also reported this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan and added, and they would prepare this dish of split beans and vinegar on the eves of Shabbat in Zippori, and they would call it cress dish. Okay, so Reish Lakish says, with regard to the principle that sages said, that if a forbidden food imparts flavor to a permitted food to the detriment of the mixture, it remains permitted. The criterion is not that people would say this dish is lacking in salt, or is overabundant in salt, is lacking in spices, or is overabundant in spices, and that is why its flavor was detracted by the forbidden food. Rather, it is referring to any dish that is not lacking in anything but will not be eaten only because of this forbidden substance that fell into it. And there are those who say that Reish Lakish states, a lenient interpretation of the principle with regard to that which sages said, that it is forbidden food imparts flavor to a permitted food to the detriment of the mixture. It remains permitted. One does not say that a certain food is forbidden because its flavor was not actually detracted by the forbidden substance, as this dish is lacking in salt, or is overabundant in salt, is lacking in spices, or overabundant in spices. And it is for that reason that the forbidden substance detracted from its flavor. Rather, since now, in any event, the forbidden substance detracted from its flavor, it is permitted. Furthermore, with regard to a forbidden food that became mixed with a permitted food, Rabbi Abahu says that Rabbi Yochanan says, in any case where the flavor and the substance of the forbidden food are perceptible in the mixture is forbidden, and one is flogged for consuming it. And it is a tradition that this is the measure for such a case. One who eats an olive bulk of the forbidden element in the mixture, in the time it takes to eat a half loaf of bread, is liable for eating the forbidden food. Okay, but if only the flavor of the forbidden food is recognizable in the mixture, but not its substance. As it was completely dissolved into the permitted food, the mixture is forbidden, but one is not flogged for consuming it. And if the forbidden food amplified the flavor of the permitted food to its detriment, it is permitted. So the Gemara asks, but then let Rabbi Yochanan say, if the forbidden food imparts flavor to the detriment of the mixture, it is permitted. Why does he use the term amplified? The Gemara answers that this is what Rabbi Yochanan teaches us, that even if there are other substances that detracted from the flavor of the mixture along with the forbidden food, insufficient salt or excessive seasoning, this is not taken into consideration since the forbidden food detracted from its flavor. The mixture is permitted. The Gemara comments, and the halacha is in accordance with the last version of the statement of Reish Lakish. So Rav Kahana says, from the statements of all the Amoraim who were cited, namely Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan, and Reish Lakish, we learn that if a forbidden food imparts flavor to a permitted food to the detriment of the mixture, it is permitted. Abaye said to him, granted, from all the rest of them, this conclusion is very well, but how can this be concluded from the statement of Reish Lakish? He says only that the sages said that if a forbidden food imparts flavor to a permitted food, to its detriment, the mixture is permitted. Perhaps he is only citing what others said, and he himself does not hold accordingly. The Gemara asks with regard to Rav Kahana's statement, by inference, is there one who says that if a forbidden food imparts flavor to a permitted food to the detriment of the mixture, it is forbidden? The Gemara answers yes, and this opinion is taught in a Braita. Both in a case where the forbidden food imparts flavor into the detriment of the flavor of the permitted food, and in a case where it imparts flavor that enhances the permitted food, the mixture is forbidden. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Shimon says, if it enhances the flavor, it is forbidden, but if it causes it detriment, it is permitted. The Gemara explains, what is the reason of Rabbi Meir? He derives this halacha from the case of vessels of Gentiles that require purging, so vessels that Gentiles used for cooking, which the Torah requires that one purge through fire and richly purify them before they may be used by Jews. See Numbers 31, verses 22 to 23, and Mishnah on this 75b. Is it not the case that vessels of Gentiles that require purging impart flavor to food that is cooked in them to their detriment? Since time has passed since the Gentiles cooked non-kosher food in the vessels, the flavor that the vessels transmit to food that a Jew cooks in them is certainly detrimental, and yet the Holy One deems their use prohibited without purging. So too the case here is no different, and even if the flavor imparted by the forbidden food is a detrimental one, the mixture should be forbidden. In the opinion of the other Tana, Rabbi Shimon, who deems the mixture permitted if the flavor imparted is detrimental, it can be explained in accordance with the opinion of Rav Huna, son of Rav Chia, as Rav Huna, son of Rav Chia, says with regard to the vessels of Gentiles, the Torah prohibits only a pot that was used for cooking on that very day, which does not yet impart flavor to the detriment of the food cooked in it. Rather, the flavor that it imparts is not considered detrimental. In the opinion of the other Tana, Rabbi Meir, can also be explained in accordance with the statement as, in his opinion, even in the case of a pot that was used for cooking on that very day, it is not possible that it does not detract from the flavor of food that is subsequently cooked in it, even slightly. The Gemara asks, and what is the reason of Rabbi Shimon? It is as it is taught in a Braita from that verse, you shall not eat of any unslaughtered animal carcass. You may give it to the resident alien who is within your gates, and he may eat it. Deuteronomy 14:21. It is derived that with regard to animal carcasses, anything that is fit for a ger toshav to consume is called an unslaughtered carcass and is forbidden. That is the end of Daf 67.